I'm Abigail, 32, sitting at a table in the back corner of my sister Sadie's wedding reception. The chandeliers cast a warm glow, their crystals catching the candlelight, and the air smells of lilies and wine. Laughter fills the room, but it feels distant, like I'm watching through glass. Sadie glows in her white dress, her smile effortless, while Mom's pride radiates her eyes, skipping over me. I clutch my grandmother's old locket, its weight a tether to a memory of her telling me I was enough. I feel like a guest in my own family, the seating chart a quiet snub. Something's off, a knot in my chest I can't name. Have you ever felt invisible where you should belong? Like this video, if you've been there, and subscribe for stories that hit close to home. The reception hums around me, a swirl of clinking glasses and soft jazz, the melody weaving through the crowd like a thread. I'm Abigail, still at this corner table, surrounded by cousins I barely know, and a stranger who keeps checking his phone, his face lit by the screen's cold glow. Sadie's laughter cuts through the noise, sharp and bright, pulling every eye to the head table where she sits with Mom. I adjust my navy dress, its fabric stiff and unfamiliar, like it's wearing me instead of the other way around. The locket still in my hand, its cool metal grounding me as I try to smile through the chatter, my lips tight against the ache. Harper, my cousin, leans over her wine glass, catching the chandelier's light, her earrings glinting as she tilts her head. She's always been the one to notice what others miss, her sharp eyes catching the edges of things. "You okay, Abby?" she asks, her voice low, barely audible over the clink of silverware. I nod, but my throat tightens, a lump I can't swallow. I don't want to admit how much it stings to be out here far from the family table. Like I'm just another guest, my place marked by a napkin with someone else's name scratched out. Harper's eyes narrow, like she's reading my thoughts. "It's not right, you know," she says, glancing toward Sadie. "The way they're acting." I follow her gaze. Sadie's in her element, tossing her head back, her veil a cascade of lace under the lights. Mom's beside her, radiant in pale pink, her hand resting on Sadie's arm, a gesture so intimate it feels like a secret I'm not part of. I try to focus on the plate of untouched salmon in front of me, its pink flesh glistening, but my appetite's gone. My mind drifts to when Sadie and I were kids, sneaking into each other's rooms after bedtime, our whispers lit by a flashlight's glow. We'd trade secrets, mine about a crush, hers about wanting to be a star. We were a team then, or so I thought. Those nights feel like a dream I can't touch anymore. The microphone crackles, and Mom stands smoothing her dress with a practiced grace. The room quiets, all eyes on her, the air thick with anticipation. I lean forward, my heart thudding, hoping for a word, a glance, anything to pull me into this moment. I want to say a few words. She begins, her voice warm but steady, like she's rehearsed every syllable. Tonight we celebrate Sadie, the daughter, who makes us proud every single day. The crowd murmurs, nodding, some raising their glasses before she's even finished. Sadie beams, her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright with victory. I wait, my breath caught, for Mom to say my name, to acknowledge me, the older sister who's always been there, steady and quiet. But she doesn't. She talks about Sadie's new job, her charm, her perfect life with Ethan, her words painting a world where I don't exist. The omission hits like a slow, dull ache spreading through my ribs. I grip the locket tighter, my fingers tracing its worn edges, the clasp digging into my palm. Harper's watching me, her lips pressed thin, her eyes sharp with indignation. "She didn't even mention you," she whispers, her voice cutting through the applause. I force a smile, trying to shrug it off, but my voice cracks when I speak. "It's fine," I say, but it's a lie, and we both know it. It's not fine. It's like I'm invisible, like my years of showing up for this family night, sorting bills, mornings, making sure Mom got out of bed, don't count. I think of the summer I dropped college to keep us afloat after Dad died, while Sadie chased her dreams, her calls home full of laughter. And now, here I am, tucked away like an afterthought, my chair wobbling on uneven floorboards. Harper leans closer, her perfume sharp and floral cutting through the haze. "You know Sadie's been talking about you, right?" she says, her eyes flicking toward the head table. "Not good stuff either." My stomach twists, a knot tightening. "What do you mean?" I ask, keeping my voice low, though the band's music covers us. Harper hesitates, her fingers tapping her glass like she's weighing whether to spill it. Last summer at Aunt June's barbecue, she says Sadie was telling everyone you dropped out of college because you couldn't hack it. Said you were too flaky to stick with anything. Her words land like a punch stealing my breath. I didn't drop out because I was flaky. I left to help Mom to pay the mortgage to keep the lights on. Sadie was there, she saw me do it. She knows the truth. I glance at Sadie, and for a moment our eyes meet across the room. She smirks just a flicker before turning back to Ethan, her hand resting lightly on his arm. It's not the first time I've seen that look, but it cuts deeper now in this room full of people who believe her version of me. Harper's still talking, her voice a quiet hum, but I'm only half listening. My mind's racing, piecing together years of small slights. Sadie's offhand comments at family dinners, the way she'd take credit for things we did together. I think of Mom's growing distance, her eyes always on Sadie, like I was just background noise. I want to stand up to say something, but my legs feel heavy, rooted to the floor. The music swells, the saxophones wail, wrapping around me, and the room feels smaller, the air thicker like it's pressing in from all sides. The chatter around me fades as I stare at my untouched plate, the salmon now cold, its edges curling. Harper's words about Sadie's lies burn in my chest, a coal I can't swallow. I'm Abigail, still stuck at this corner table. The stranger beside me now scrolling through photos, oblivious to my unraveling. The jazz band shifts to a slower tune, mournful notes curling through the air, and I feel the weight of every glance that skips over me like I'm a shadow in my own family. I try to focus on Harper, who's still whispering, her voice sharp with indignation. She's always done this, Abby, she says, her eyes locked on mine, her earrings glinting with each word. Sadie twists things to make herself shine. You don't deserve this. I want to argue to say it's not that bad, but the truth is clawing at me raw and undeniable. I think of family gatherings where Sadie would hold court, her stories painting her as the hero, the one who made it. I was the quiet one, wiping down counters after everyone left, making sure Mom ate when grief stole her hunger. I glance at the head table where Sadie's now leaning into Ethan, her laughter loud enough to pierce the music. Mom's watching, her eyes soft like Sadie's, the only thing anchoring her world. It's like I'm not even here, my chair pushed so far back, it's nearly against the wall. A waiter passes his tray of champagne flutes, catching the light, and I take a glass just to have something to hold. The bubbles fizz against my lips, sharp and bitter, but I barely taste it. My mind drifts to a memory clear and heavy, the summer after Dad died when I was 20, sitting at the kitchen table with Mom, stacks of bills between us. Sadie was off at college, her voice bright over the phone, talking about parties and new friends, while I canceled my own classes to keep the lights on. I never complained, not once, thinking that's what family did, stepping up, no questions asked. But now, watching Mom toast Sadie's every milestone, I wonder if any of it mattered, if my sacrifices were just a footnote. Harper nudges me, her elbow gentle but insistent, her bracelet clinking softly. You should say something, she says, her voice low but fierce, like she's ready to fight for me. They can't just pretend you don't exist. I shake my head, my throat tight, the champagne glass cold in my hand. Not here, I murmur, though a part of me wants to scream, to walk to that microphone and tell everyone how I carried this family when it was falling apart. But the thought of their stares, their pity, stops me cold, my breath shallow. I'm not ready to shatter this moment, not yet. Across the room, my Aunt Marjorie catches my eye, her pearl necklace gleaming against her dark dress. She's Mom's sister, always quick with a smile, but tonight her lips are tight, like she's holding back something heavy. I remember her at Dad's funeral, pulling me aside in the church hallway, her hands warm on mine, saying I was the strong one, the one who'd keep us together. Now she's seated near Sadie, clapping politely as Mom's speech ends, her eyes avoiding mine. I want to believe she sees what's happening, that she notices me out here alone, but doubt creeps in, cold and heavy, settling in my bones. The band picks up and people drift to the dance floor, their shoes scuffing the polished wood. Sadie's the first out there, twirling with Ethan, her dress a blur of white against the warm lights. Mom watches, her hands clasped, her smile wide, like Sadie's the sun she orbits. I feel a pang, not just for being left out, but for the years I've spent trying to earn a place in her eyes to be seen as more than the one who holds things together. Harper's still beside me, her phone buzzing with a text she doesn't check. "There's more to this, Abby," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, her eyes flicking to the head table. "I heard something about Dad's will. Sadie's been cagey about it." My heart stutters a jolt of unease. Dad's will, I thought that was settled years ago when Mom told us Sadie got the house because she was better with money. I never questioned it, too busy keeping us afloat. The room spins a little, the champagne glass trembling in my hand, its contents sloshing. Harper's words feel like a thread I'm afraid to pull, but it's too late to ignore. Sadie's smirk from earlier flashes in my mind, and I wonder what else she's hidden, what other truths she's shaped to keep me small. The music swells, the crowd laughs, but I'm sinking deeper into a truth I'm not sure I'm ready to face. Something's coming, something bigger than this moment, and it's going to change everything. The dance floor pulses with life couples swaying under the dim glow of string lights, their shadows flickering on the walls. I'm Abigail, 32, still anchored to this corner table, my champagne glass, now empty, its rim smudged with my fingerprints. Harper's words about Dad's will linger, a quiet hum beneath the music, sharp and insistent. I want to dismiss them, to believe it's just gossip, but Sadie's confidence tonight, the way she moves like she owns the room, makes my skin prickle, a warning I can't shake. I scan the room, trying to steady myself, my eyes catching on the floral centerpieces, their petals wilting slightly under the heat. The cousins at my table are deep in their own conversations, swapping stories about kids and vacations. I can't relate to their voices, a dull buzz. I feel like a ghost drifting through a celebration that's not mine, my presence barely registered. Then I catch Mom pulling Sadie aside near the dessert table, their heads bent close, whispering behind a tower of cupcakes. Sadie's hand gestures animatedly, her rings flashing, and Mom nods, her face lit with that same pride I saw earlier. They laugh, a private sound that cuts through the crowd and lands right in my gut, sharp as a blade. I don't know what they're saying, but it feels like another door shutting me out, locking me away from the family I've fought to hold together. I pull my phone from my clutch, my fingers trembling as I open Harper's text again. It's just a single line. "Check the family group chat." I found something. My heart races a frantic rhythm, but I don't open it yet. The screen's glow too bright in my shaking hands. I'm not sure I can handle whatever's waiting there, not with the room spinning around me. Instead, I look up and see Ethan, Sadie's new husband, weaving through the crowd, his suit crisp, his smile polished. He's the kind of guy who always knows the right thing to say. But when his eyes meet mine, there's something else, pity maybe, or discomfort, like he's caught in a moment he didn't expect. He pauses, then walks over, his smile tight, his hands in his pockets. "Abby, you holding up okay?" he asks, his voice low, like he's afraid someone might overhear, his eyes flicking to the crowd. I force a nod, my lips pressed into a thin line, my fingers tightening around my phone. "Sure," I say, but the word feels hollow, barely audible over the music. Ethan shifts, glancing back towards Sadie, who's now chatting with a group of aunts, her laughter bright. "It's a big night," he says, almost like an apology, his voice softer now. "You know how it gets." But there's a hesitation in his tone, a crack in his usual charm, and it makes my stomach twist. He knows something, and he's not saying it, his eyes avoiding mine for too long. Before I can press him, a guest at a nearby table leans over, an older woman with too much perfume and a glass of red wine, her earrings dangling as she speaks. "You must be so proud of your sister," she says, her voice loud enough to draw eyes, her smile wide but unaware. She's done so well for herself. Not everyone can pull that off. Her words land like a slap, the implication clear. Sadie's the success, and I'm the one who fell short. I murmur something polite, my face burning, and she turns back to her table, oblivious to the sting she left behind, her laughter blending with the crowd's. My mind spirals back to those years after Dad's death, when I was 20, working double shifts at a diner, the smell of grease clinging to my hair. I'd come home to find Mom staring at the walls. Her grief a heavy fog while I paid the mortgage, bought groceries, kept us afloat. Sadie was off at college building her perfect life, her calls home full of stories I couldn't share. I never resented her, not really. I thought my sacrifices were for us, for the family. But now, with Mom's speech ringing in my ears, Sadie's smirk burned into my memory. I'm starting to see it differently. Maybe I was never part of her plan, just a stepping stone she left behind. Harper's back at my side, her eyes fierce, her voice cutting through my thoughts. "You need to see this," she says, shoving her phone toward me, the screen glowing with an email. The subject line makes my breath catch. "Your dad's estate papers." I don't open it, not yet. My fingers frozen. The room feels too loud, too crowded, the air thick with perfume and heat, and my heart's pounding so hard it drowns out everything else. Ethan's still nearby watching us, his face unreadable, his hands still in his pockets. Sadie's laughter rings out again, sharp and clear, and I feel something snap inside me like a thread stretched too thin. Whatever's in that email, it's going to change everything, and I'm not sure I'm ready for it. My fingers hover over Harper's phone, the email's subject line glaring up at me like a warning etched in light. I'm Abigail, 32, and the wedding reception feels like it's closing in, the laughter and music a dull roar in my ears, the air heavy with the scent of candle wax. I can't bring myself to open the email, not with Ethan lingering nearby, his eyes darting between me and the crowd, his tie slightly askew. He shifts his weight like he wants to say something else, but then he mutters a quick "good luck" and slips back towards Sadie, his footsteps muffled by the carpet. His retreat feels like another door slamming shut, leaving me alone with the truth I'm afraid to face. Harper's still beside me, her jaw tight, her fingers gripping her phone like it's a lifeline. "You have to read it," she urges, her voice low but insistent, cutting through the band's mournful notes. "It's not just rumors, Abby. It's real." I shake my head, my chest heavy with dread, the phone's weight in my hand like a stone. I don't want to know what's in there, not yet, but the weight of it is already crushing me, a truth I can't outrun. I shove the phone back into my clutch next to the locket, its clasp clicking shut, and try to focus on the room, the swirl of dresses and polished shoes, but it's all a blur. I stand my legs unsteady, the floor tilting slightly under my heels, and make my way toward the bar, needing space from Harper's intensity. The bartender, a young guy with a tired smile and a faded tattoo peeking from his sleeve, hands me a glass of water without me asking, the ice clinking softly. "Rough night." He says, his tone light, but not mocking, his eyes kind, in a way that catches me off guard. I nod, sipping the water, its coldness sharp against my throat, grounding me for a moment. You could say that I murmur, glancing back at the head table where Mom's now laughing with Sadie's friends, her hands animated, her face glowing under the soft lights. I search for any sign she's noticed me, but there's nothing, not a glance, not a nod, just a wall of absence. A memory hits me uninvited from a year after Dad's death. I was 21, sitting in the living room with Mom, her eyes red from crying, a pile of unpaid bills between us. She'd told me Sadie was struggling at college, needed extra support, so I sent half my diner tips to cover her textbooks, my hands still smelling of coffee and grease. I didn't mind then. I thought it was temporary, that we were all in it together. But now, watching Mom dote on Sadie, her every gesture a celebration of one daughter, I realize it was never about need. It was about choice. Mom chose Sadie, and I was the one left picking up the pieces, my dreams tucked away like old clothes in a drawer. I turn back to the bar, my hands shaking as I set the glass down, the ice rattling. Across the room, I spot my Uncle George, Dad's brother, standing alone near the dessert table, his suit jacket unbuttoned, his face lined with quiet thoughts. He's always been the quiet one, seeing everything but saying little, his eyes sharp behind his glasses. Our eyes meet, and for a moment I think he might come over, might offer a word to bridge this gap. But he looks away, his shoulders hunching, and joins a group of cousins, his back to me. The rejection stings sharper than I expected, like another thread of family unraveling, leaving me frayed and exposed. Harper's back at my side, her voice cutting through my thoughts, her breath warm against my ear. "Abby, I'm serious," she says, her eyes blazing, her bracelet glinting as she gestures. That email. It's from Dad's old lawyer. He sent me a scan of the will, and it's not what Mom told us. My breath catches, and I feel the room tilt, the lights blurring at the edges. I want to ask her to stop, to let me breathe, but she keeps going, her voice dropping to a hiss. Sadie knew, she says, her words sharp as glass. She knew you were supposed to get half the estate, and she let Mom give it all to her. The words slam into me, each one heavier than the last, a betrayal I never saw coming. I look at Sadie, still posing for photos, her smile flawless, her dress catching every light, and something inside me cracks. The music fades, the crowd blurs, and all I can feel is the weight of a truth that's been hidden from me for years. The air feels thick, like I'm breathing through a fog as I stand near the bar. Harper's words about Dad's will echoing in my head, each syllable a weight I can't shake. I'm Abigail, 32, and the wedding reception is a blur of sequined dresses and clinking glasses, the air heavy with perfume and anticipation. All I can see is Sadie, radiant at the center of it all, her laughter a melody that drowns out everything else. My heart's hammering, and my clutch feels heavy with Harper's phone inside that email about Dad's will waiting like a ticking bomb, its truth pulsing in my mind. I want to run to hide from whatever's coming, but my feet won't move, my heels sinking into the carpet. The band pauses, and the MC's voice cuts through the chatter, his tone bright as he calls for the mother of the bride's toast. Mom steps up to the microphone, her pale pink dress catching the light, its fabric shimmering as she moves. Her smile is wide, practiced, but there's a tightness in her eyes I haven't seen before. The room hushes, every face turned toward her, the air still except for the faint clink of ice in glasses. I feel a flicker of hope, a desperate wish that she'll see me this time, that she'll say something to pull me into this moment. She raises her glass, her eyes locked on Sadie, and says, "To the daughter who truly deserves everything." The words land like a stone in my chest, heavy and cold. The crowd erupts in applause, glasses clinking, a wave of sound that pushes me further away. Sadie's smile widens, a glint of triumph in her eyes as she glances my way just for a second, and I know that look. It's not just pride, it's victory, a quiet claim to everything I've lost. I'm not at the family table, not even close. I'm still here in the back, surrounded by strangers who don't know my name. Their faces blurred in the warm light. The applause feels like a wall shutting me out, and my throat burns with the urge to scream to make them see me. I think of Dad. His warm laugh, the way he'd pull me close on the porch swing, calling me his brave one, his voice steady against the summer hum. I fumble with my clutch, my fingers brushing the locket, and it pops open, revealing his tiny note inside. Abigail, my brave one. It's like he's here, whispering strength across the years, but it's not enough to dull the pain, the raw ache of being erased. Harper's at my elbow, her face pale but fierce, her breath quick. "Abby, you can't let this slide," she hisses, her voice barely audible over the crowd's chatter, her eyes burning with urgency. I shake my head, my eyes stinging, but she grabs my arm, her grip tight, her nails pressing into my skin. "They're rewriting you out of this family," she says, and the truth of it hits like a wave, cold and relentless. I look at Mom, still basking in the applause, her glass raised high, and Sadie, her hand on Ethan's, her smile unshaken. I feel like I'm drowning, like every moment I've spent trying to hold this family together, every late night, every sacrifice has been erased, reduced to nothing in this single toast. Without thinking, I step forward, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor, each step louder than the last. The room doesn't notice, not yet, but Harper's eyes widen, her breath catching. My heart's pounding so loud it drowns out the music starting up again, a bright tune that feels wrong. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I can't stay silent anymore, not after everything. I reach the edge of the dance floor, my hands trembling, my pulse a drumbeat in my ears. I open my mouth and my voice comes out louder than I expect, cutting through the noise like a blade. "You'll remember this day," I say, the words sharp and heavy hanging in the air. "Just not for the reason you think." A few heads turn, confusion flickering across their faces, their glasses pausing mid-air. Sadie's smirk falters just for a moment, her eyes narrowing. Mom's smile freezes her glass, still raised her face a mask of shock. I feel the weight of every eye on me, and it's terrifying, but I can't stop now, the truth burning too bright to hold back. The room seems to hold its breath as my words echo sharp and unsteady, the air thick with tension. I'm Abigail, 32, standing at the edge of the dance floor, my hands shaking as Sadie's voice cuts through low and biting, "Abby, sit down. This is my day." Her tone is calm, almost pitying, but there's an edge, a warning that slices into me. The crowd's moved on, laughing, dancing their dresses, shimmering under the lights. But I'm stuck, my heart raw and exposed, Sadie's words. "You always make it about you," ringing in my ears. Mom's back at the head table, her face turned away, her posture rigid, and I feel like I'm disappearing, fading into the shadows of their celebration. Faces turn toward me, some curious, others annoyed, like I've disrupted their perfect night, their wine glasses glinting in the dim light. A cousin murmurs, "What's she doing?" her voice sharp, carrying over the music. The words sting, but it's Sadie's voice that cuts deeper, her calm laced with venom. She steps forward, her white dress glowing a vision of perfection, and repeats, "Abby, sit down." Her eyes cold, like she's been waiting to put me in my place. The crowd shifts, some nodding in agreement, others looking away, their discomfort palpable. I feel exposed, like a spotlight's pinned me to the wall, my dress too tight, my breath too shallow. Mom moves towards Sadie, her hand resting on her shoulder, a silent alliance that twists the knife deeper. "Let's not do this now," she says, her voice low but firm, directed at me, her eyes hard with disapproval. It's not a plea, it's a command, and I search her face for the mother who used to braid my hair, who leaned on me when Dad was gone, but all I see is a stranger choosing sides. The locket in my clutch feels heavier, a reminder of a love I'm not sure exists anymore, its weight grounding me, but not enough to ease the ache. A guest, an older man I vaguely recognize as Dad's old friend Walter, stands up, his chair scraping the floor. "She's right, Abigail," he says, his voice loud enough to carry his glasses reflecting the light. "This isn't the place." His words hit like a wave, and I feel the room tilt, the weight of their judgment pressing down heavy and relentless. I glance at Harper, hoping for a lifeline, but she's frozen, her eyes wide with shock, her hand clutching her phone. Even she didn't expect this, my public shaming in front of everyone who's supposed to be family. Their faces a blur of pity and disapproval. Sadie steps closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Only I can hear her perfume, sharp and overwhelming. "You always make it about you, don't you?" she says, her eyes cold, like she's been waiting for this moment. Her lips barely moving. It's not just her words. It's the truth behind them, the years of her carving out a place that left no room for me. Her victories built on my silence. I want to scream about the will, about her lies, but my chest feels hollow, my courage crumbling under the weight of their stares. The room's warmth turning stifling. The music starts again, a cheerful tune that feels like a mockery, and I'm left standing alone, the room spinning with faces that don't see me, my heart shattered and raw with nowhere to go. Ethan's words hang in the cool night air, his admission about Sadie's deception fueling the fire inside me, a spark I haven't felt in years. I'm Abigail, 32, standing in the garden, the glow of the reception spilling out behind us, the distant hum of music seeping through the windows. The phone in my hand feels like a weapon, Dad's will, a truth I can't unsee, its words burning in my mind. Ethan shifts his eyes, searching mine, his tie loosened, his polished facade cracking. I'm done waiting for apologies, done letting their story define me. I slip the phone back into my clutch, my fingers brushing the locket, its smooth surface a quiet anchor, and head toward the venue's side entrance. My steps steady now, each one a choice. Inside, the reception's in full swing, the dance floor a blur of spinning couples and laughter, the air thick with the scent of roses and wine. I pause near a floral arch, its petals soft under my touch, their sweetness sharp in my nose. My heart still racing, it's not fear anymore, it's purpose, a clarity I haven't felt in years. I pull out my own phone, my hands steady as I open the family group chat, the screen's glow harsh against the dim light. Harper's email is already forwarded to me. The scanned will attached its pages a map of truths I was never meant to see. I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the send button, my breath catching in my throat. This isn't just about the house or the money, it's about every moment I let them define me as less, every time I stayed quiet to keep the peace. I think of the years I spent in the background fixing what was broken while Sadie took the spotlight. Late nights balancing Mom's checkbook, my eyes burning from lack of sleep. Weekends I skipped to drive her to therapy, her silence heavier than words. All while Sadie built her perfect life. Her calls home full of triumphs I couldn't share. I type a message simple but clear, Dad's will. We need to talk. I attach the document and hit send, my breath catching as the notification pings a sound sharp enough to cut through the music. It's done. There's no going back, no undoing this truth. The music shifts, a slower song, its notes soft and mournful, and I weave through the crowd, my eyes scanning for Harper. She's near the dessert table, her phone in hand, her face lighting up when she sees me, her earrings catching the light. "You did it," she whispers, her voice thick with pride, her hand brushing mine. I nod, but my chest feels tight, like I've just jumped off a cliff, the ground far below. I glance at the head table where Sadie's laughing with a group of friends, her dress shimmering, oblivious to the storm I've unleashed. Mom's nearby sipping wine, her smile softer now, but still not for me, her eyes fixed on the crowd. A woman I don't know well. Lila, one of Sadie's co-workers, approaches me, her eyes kind but curious, her scarf loose around her shoulders. "I saw you outside," she says, her voice gentle, almost lost in the music. "You looked like you were carrying the world. Want to talk?" I'm caught off guard, her warmth unexpected, like a hand reaching out in the dark. I shake my head, but her words linger, a reminder that I'm not as invisible as I feel, that someone saw me when I thought no one did. Maybe later, I say, my voice quieter than I mean it to be, my throat tight. She nods, squeezing my arm before walking away, her footsteps soft on the carpet. I move to a quieter corner near a window overlooking the garden, the fairy lights outside glowing like stars. My phone buzzes, Harper's texting me saying she's watching the group chat, that people are already responding, their messages piling up. I don't check yet, my fingers hovering over the screen. I need this moment, this breath, to feel the weight of what I've done, the truth. I've set free. I've spent years swallowing my voice, keeping the peace. But now I've spoken, and it feels like waking up after a long sleep. I look out at the fairy lights, their soft glow steady against the dark, and I know this is only the beginning. My hand rests on the locket, and for the first time tonight, I feel like I'm standing on solid ground, my heart steady, my resolve clear. Mom's words hang between us, sharp and cold, and I'm Abigail, 32, rooted to the spot, as the reception's noise fades to a dull hum, the air heavy with tension. Her eyes, usually so warm, are hard now, like I'm a stranger who's crossed a line, her wine glass still in her hand, forgotten. The crowd's murmurs grow, phones glowing in their hands, as they read the will I sent, but no one steps closer, their faces a mix of shock and unease. It's just me and her standing in this pocket of silence, and I feel the weight of every choice I've made tonight pressing down, a burden I chose. I want to speak, to tell her about Dad's will, about the years I gave up for her, the nights I stayed up to keep us whole. But my voice stays locked in my throat, my lips dry. Harper's hand brushes my arm, a quiet anchor, but even she stays silent, her eyes fixed on Mom, her breath held. Sadie's across the room, her face tight as she scrolls through her phone, Ethan at her side, his whispers urgent, his hand gripping her elbow. The air feels heavy, like it's holding its breath, waiting for someone to break the music, a distant hum. Aunt Marjorie steps forward, her purse clutched tight, her face pale, her pearl necklace catching the light. "Abby, why didn't you say something sooner?" she asks, her voice soft but pointed. Like I've betrayed her too, her eyes searching mine. I open my mouth, but the words tangle my throat tight with years of silence. How do I explain a decade of believing I wasn't enough, of thinking my role was to stay quiet? Before I can answer, Uncle George joins her, his shoulders slouched, his glasses fogging slightly. I knew something wasn't right, he mutters almost to himself, his voice low and heavy. Your dad would have wanted you both taken care of. His admission is a lifeline, a crack in the wall, but it's too late to ease the ache, the pain of being unseen for so long. Sadie finally moves her heels, clicking as she approaches, her eyes blazing, her dress a stark white against the warm lights. You're doing this now, she says, her voice low, meant for me alone, her lips barely moving. On my wedding day. There's no smirk now, just raw anger, and it's like seeing her for the first time, someone who's built her world on my erasure, her victories carved from my silence. I don't respond, not yet, my breath shallow. My fingers find the locket in my clutch, its smooth surface a reminder of who I am, but it doesn't dull the sting of her words, sharp and precise. The crowd parts slightly and I see other relatives glancing my way, their expressions a mix of shock and unease, their phones still glowing. Some, like Tessa, look at me with something like sympathy, her eyes soft, but others turn away, their loyalty to Sadie, clear, their faces closed off. Mom hasn't moved, her gaze still locked on me, but now there's a flicker of doubt in her eyes, like she's seeing the Will's truth for the first time, her hand tightening around her glass. We'll talk later, she says, her voice barely above a whisper, and turns back to the head table. Her steps slow, leaving me standing alone, the air cold against my skin. The band plays on, oblivious, but the joy in the room feels hollow now, like a mask slipping the lights too bright. I'm still by the window, Harper beside me, her presence steady but quiet. The weight of what I've done settles in heavy and cold. A truth I can't take back. I've broken the silence, but at what cost? The family I've fought for is fracturing, and I'm left holding the pieces, my heart quiet, bruised, and waiting for what comes next, the room's warmth fading around me. I'm Abigail, 32, driving home from Sadie's wedding, the night air cool through the cracked window, carrying the faint scent of rain. The road stretches dark and quiet, the venue's lights fading in my rearview mirror, a distant glow. My hands grip the wheel, the locket resting on the passenger seat, its chain glinting under passing streetlights, a small beacon in the dark. The weight of the night. Mom's cold stare. Sadie's anger, the will I sent to everyone, sits heavy in my chest, but it's different now, less like a burden and more like a truth I finally faced. It's like I've let go of something I didn't know I was carrying, a piece of myself I'd buried. I turn onto a familiar back road, the one that winds past the old park where Dad used to take me, its trees looming like silent sentinels. My mind drifts to a summer day when I was 10, sitting on a swing, while he pushed his voice steady as he told me I could be anything, his hands warm on my shoulders. "You've got a fire in you, Abby," he'd said, his smile wide, the sun catching his glasses. I believed him then, before life got complicated, before I started measuring myself against Sadie's shine, her effortless glow. I pull over near the park, the swings just shadows in the moonlight, their chains creaking faintly in the breeze. I cut the engine and the silence is soft, almost kind, wrapping around me like a blanket. I step out, my heels sinking into the grass, the damp earth cool under my feet. I sit on a bench, the wood cold and rough under my hands, its surface worn by years of weather. The night smells of damp earth and pine, and I breathe it in, letting it ground me steady, my racing heart. My phone's been buzzing, messages from cousins and aunts, some supportive, some confused, their words piling up like leaves. I don't check them, not yet. I need this moment, just me and the quiet, to figure out who I am without their voices in my head, without the weight of their expectations. I've spent so long trying to be the daughter Mom needed, the sister Sadie could lean on, that I forgot what it felt like to just be Abigail, whole and enough. Harper's call comes through, her name lighting up my screen, a small intrusion in the stillness. I answer, my voice steadier than I expect, the night air cool against my cheek. "You okay?" she asks, her tone soft but urgent, her words quick. "People are talking, Abby. They're starting to see it. Sadie's not who they thought." I nod, even though she can't see me, my eyes on the swings. "I'm okay," I say, and for the first time tonight, I mean it, the words solid in my mouth. "I just needed to get out." She pauses, then says, "We're meeting tomorrow, me and some of the family, to talk about the will. You in?" I hesitate, the idea both heavy and freeing, like a door opening to a room I've never seen. Yeah, I say finally, my voice calm. I'm in. I hang up and lean back, staring at the stars peeking through the trees, faint but steady, their light a quiet promise. I think of Dad, not the will or the house, but the way he'd look at me, his eyes warm like I was enough just as I was. For the first time in years, I feel like I might believe that again, like I'm stepping into a version of myself I've forgotten. The night wraps around me quiet and still, and I let myself breathe slow and deep, as something new settles in my bones, a strength I didn't know I had. I'm Abigail, 32, still sitting on this park bench, the night air cool against my skin, carrying the faint scent of wet leaves. The stars are brighter now, or maybe I'm just seeing them clearer, their light cutting through the dark. My phone stays dark in my lap, the buzz of messages fading into the background, a distant hum. I don't need to read them to know what's coming, questions, arguments, maybe even apologies, but right now, none of it matters. I'm here in this quiet, and it's enough. The locket sits beside me, its chain coiled like a promise. I'm starting to understand its weight, a reminder of who I've always been. I think of a moment with Dad, not the swings or his big talks, but a quieter one tucked away in my memory. I was 16, helping him plant tulips in the backyard, my hands caked with dirt, the sun warm on my neck. He'd laughed when I complained about the mess, his voice gentle but firm. Life's messy, Abby. You just keep planting. I didn't get it then, my teenage self rolling my eyes. But now, with the weight of tonight's truth settling, I do. I've been digging through the mess of this family for years, trying to grow something good, something whole. Maybe I still can, not for them, but for me. My phone lights up with a text from Mom. Just 3 words, can we talk? No apology, no explanation, just a question stark against the screen. I stare at it, my thumb hovering the words, blurring slightly. I'm not ready to step back into her world, to navigate her expectations or Sadie's shadow. For the first time, I don't feel like I have to, like I can choose myself instead. I slip the phone into my pocket, its weight light compared to the years I've carried the burden of being the one who fixes everything. I stand brushing grass from my dress, the fabric soft against my skin, and walk toward the park's edge, where a small stone fountain trickles softly, its water catching the moonlight in tiny sparks. The sound is steady, almost soothing, and I pause, watching the ripples spread. I think of the family meeting Harper mentioned, the one about Dad's will, a chance to set things right. But more than that, it's a chance to be seen not as the daughter who fixed things, or the sister who stepped aside, but as me, whole and unapologetic. A memory surfaces, unbidden, Dad showing me how to skip stones on a lake, his patience endless as I fumbled. It's not about the stone, Abby, he'd said. It's about the ripples. I didn't understand then, but now I see it, the ripples I'm making, the truth I've set free. I kneel by the fountain, dipping my fingers into the cool water, letting it slip through my hands, its chill grounding me. It's a small thing, but it feels like letting go, like washing away the need to prove myself to anyone. The night is still, the park empty, and I feel a quiet strength, not loud or angry, but solid like the ground beneath me. I stand my breath slow and head back to my car. The locket in my hand, its weight familiar now. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, not for them, but for me, my heart steady, my path clear. I'm Abigail, 32, sitting at a small coffee shop a few weeks after Sadie's wedding, the morning light spilling through the window, warming the wooden table where my coffee steams untouched. I'm early, waiting for Mom, her text from that night, still unanswered in my phone, its words a quiet weight. The shop hums with chatter, the clink of mugs, the hiss of the espresso machine, but I'm calm, steadier than I've been in years, my breath even. The locket rests against my chest, its chain warm against my skin, a quiet reminder of who I'm becoming, a woman who doesn't need to be defined by others. I've started coming here most mornings, claiming a corner table with my notebook, its pages soft from use. I write now, not lists or bills, but thoughts, messy and honest, dreams I've tucked away, fears I've never named. It's new, this habit of carving out space for myself, not for anyone else's needs, a small rebellion against the years I spent in the background. I think of the wedding, the weight of that group chat message, the way it cracked open the truth. I don't regret it, but I'm not chasing their approval anymore. Not Mom's, not Sadie's, not anyone's. Mom walks in her coat buttoned tight, her face softer than it was that night, her steps hesitant. She sits across from me, her hands folded, her scarf loose around her neck, and I brace for her words, my fingers still on my mug. I didn't know, she says, her voice low like she's testing the air between us, her eyes searching mine, about the will, about what Sadie did. I nod, my fingers tracing the mug's edge, its warmth seeping into my skin. I believe her, but it doesn't erase the years of feeling unseen, the moments I stood in Sadie's shadow. I should have spoken up, she adds, her eyes meeting mine for the first time in what feels like forever, a flicker of regret in her gaze. We talk slow and careful about Dad, about the house, about the way grief twisted our family into something I didn't recognize. She doesn't apologize outright, but her voice carries a weight, a regret I can feel, like a stone she's been carrying too. I don't push her, don't demand more than she's ready to give. I'm learning that healing isn't about fixing everything. It's about letting go of what I can't control, about choosing my own path. I tell her about my writing, about the quiet mornings I've claimed the way they feel like mine. She listens, her eyes softening like she's seeing me anew, her hands still on the table. The conversation isn't perfect, Sadie's name hanging unspoken, a shadow. We're not ready to touch. I know she's still angry, still silent, and I'm okay with that for now. My heart lighter than it's been. I've started therapy, a small step I took last week, sitting in a cozy office with a woman who asks questions that make me think, her voice calm and steady. It's hard peeling back the layers of who I thought I had to be, but it's mine. This work, this rebuilding. I sip my coffee, the warmth spreading through me, and for the first time I feel like I'm enough, just as I am, my heart steady, my path, my own. I'm Abigail, 32, leaving the coffee shop, the bell above the door jingling softly as I step into the crisp morning, the air sharp with the promise of fall. Mom's words linger, her quiet regret, a small bridge between us, but it's not the whole story, not the end. I walk down the street, my boots clicking on the sidewalk, the locket warm against my skin, its weight a steady reminder of my own strength. I've been thinking about Sadie, about the distance between us, the way her silence feels like a wall I don't need to climb anymore. I don't need her to say sorry, don't need her to see me. I'm finding my own way to stand tall, my own light to follow. Yesterday I met Harper at a diner, her energy as fierce as ever, her coffee mug steaming between us. We talked about Dad, about the family meeting we're planning to sort out the will, the air thick with the scent of pancakes and syrup. She's ready to fight for me, her eyes blazing, but I told her I'm not looking for a battle, my voice calm but firm. I want peace, not revenge, a life that's mine. I've started sketching in my notebook 2 little drawings of places Dad loved, the lake where we fished, the old barn behind our house. It's wood weathered but strong. It's not about fixing the past. It's about carrying him with me in my own way. His memory a quiet guide. Therapy's been a quiet anchor, a place to unravel the knots of who I thought I had to be, the questions peeling back layers I didn't know were there. I'm learning to forgive myself for the years I stayed silent, for thinking my worth depended on their love, their approval. It's slow, like planting seeds in rocky soil, but I'm starting to see sprigs of something new, green and fragile but growing. I don't need to be the perfect daughter or the invisible sister. I just need to be Abigail, messy and real, and that's enough, a truth I'm learning to hold. I stop at a crosswalk, the morning sun warm on my face, its light soft against the city's hum. I think about what Dad would say if he saw me now, his smile wide, his eyes kind. He'd probably tell me to keep going, to trust the fire inside the one he always saw. I've spent so long trying to hold my family together, but the real work is holding myself, building something new from the pieces. The lesson isn't about winning or being right. It's about choosing yourself even when it's hard, even when it's quiet. You don't need everyone to see you to know you're whole. What's a moment you chose yourself even when it hurt? Share it below. I'd love to hear your story. If this resonated, give it a like, subscribe for more stories like mine, and share it with someone who needs it. Thank you for listening, for being here. Keep finding your own light, and I'll see you in the next one.